Hi, welcome to this first in a series of videos where I'll be covering the different database options available in Microsoft SQL Server. Now, if you're an experienced DBA, you already have some assumption about what you should be doing for each of the database options. However, for the most part, what I've seen from experience is people are blindly following what they have learned or read on the internet without really understanding why a particular option is good or bad. So I figured in this series I'd cover each of the database options and explain why it's either good or bad, and the scenarios where you might want to deviate from what would be considered best practices. The video will obviously cover one option individually so that you have individual options and you can review through each one of them on your own. Now, to start off with, I'll be covering the options that are available in Management Studio, and then from there continue to other options that don't necessarily have a GUI. So if you have been working with Microsoft SQL Server for any amount of time, you should be aware of database, properties, and options. And over here, as time has gone by, the number of options have increased over time, and a lot of people have standard settings that they use, but I figured I should probably do this one by one so that everybody knows what's supposed to be done. So today what we're going to talk about is auto close, and as you can see here, I've already set my auto close to true, but what you'll find by default is that it's set to false. The recommendation that you'll find on the internet is to always set auto close is equal to false, but a lot of people might not be aware of why you're supposed to do that, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here in this video. So the first thing you want to understand about auto close is if you go to the Microsoft documentation, it tells you that it cleanly shuts down the database when the last user disconnects, and the assumption there is that it frees up resources, which it does. However, there is a side effect to that, and most of the time the side effect that people claim is that there is an extra overhead the next time you want to connect because of the database startup that is required. And that is definitely there, but from personal experience, that is not really the problem. The real problem comes from the fact that when you set auto close is equal to true, it flushes out the plan cache for that database. So all your procedures, all your ad hoc SQL parameterized and optimized queries will be flushed out, and every time you run a query subsequent to the database starting up, you will encounter some amount of compile time. So you actually have two issues that you'll face there. The first one being that the database takes more time to start up and users take more time to connect, and the documentation doesn't reveal the fact that even after that there still will be issues every time you call a procedure. So I'm trying to demonstrate that over here. For example, if you see right now the database, I'm just going to go ahead and alter the database and set to auto close is equal to on. And when I do that, what I'll do is I'll flush the procedure cache at the beginning, and we're going to establish a connection to the database. Once we do that and I look at the plan cache, you can see I've already got one ad hoc plan cache over here, and I've got two procedures. They don't really do much, but that's two procedures. So at this point the database is up and running and two procedures have been executed, and if I look in my plan cache, I can see I've got two procedures, the ones that are executed, and their plans are cached. So that's all well and good. Now if I use master, it essentially means that the database users have disconnected, right? So I'll just confirm that by going into sys processes, and we don't have any more users connected to the database. So immediately after we do that, what we'll see here is if I go ahead and execute this guy now, the execution plan for the procedures that I created or executed before is now wiped out, and naturally the second time I want to execute this, it's gonna go ahead and recompile again. And this is the problem with auto close, more than the fact that there will be an additional overhead every time you want to go ahead and reconnect to the database. So let's see the standard behavior when auto close is set to off. In other words, even after the last user disconnects, the database is still online. It is still online, it's just that it doesn't free up resources. So I've gone ahead, I've cleaned up the procedure cache, I execute the query just like before. I've got my two procedures, I execute them as well, and as you can see I've got my execution plans just like before. And now I change the database context, which in other words means nobody's connected to the database anymore. And that's what we have here. So now that the database has been, or the users have disconnected from the database, what happens to the plan cache? And you'll see in this case, the execution plans are still available there. And that makes sure that the next time someone connects to the database, not only are they able to connect quicker, but all the procedures are already compiled and ready to use, so they don't have any additional latency in terms of query execution. And this is the real reason why you shouldn't be setting the property auto close is equal to true or on, basically. Well, I hope that clears up that particular setting. I still don't know why it's available. It should have been removed a long time back, but that's another topic for another day. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.